Have you ever stood in the kitchen, looking at all the pill bottles lined up on the counter, and thought to yourself, there has to be a better way? Maybe it's your mom or your granddad. Maybe it's you. You see them shuffling in the morning, popping one pill after another, just to keep going, just to feel some relief. And deep down, even if everything seems normal, something just doesn't sit right. Why so many? Do they all really help? And why does nothing ever seem to change? You're not alone in wondering that. I want to ask you something a little bold. What if the answer to 6 of the most common problems seniors face wasn't in another prescription or another supplement or another doctor's visit? What if it was something so simple, so old-fashioned, so overlooked that it's been sitting in your kitchen cabinet this entire time? Now, I know this might sound too good to be true, and I'm not here to sell you magic, but what I'm here to do is bring you something real. Something natural, a glass of water, and a pinch of baking soda. That's it. This tiny combo, it's been quietly helping folks for generations. And today, more and more people are rediscovering how it can ease discomfort, soothe inflammation, support digestion, even balance certain functions in the body that tend to wear down with age. The science is catching up. The stories are piling up. And I want you to hear both. So grab a seat, settle in with your coffee or tea, and stick with me. Because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to use baking soda water safely, why it works the way it does, and what health problems it may help ease, especially for seniors. And hey, if you're someone who believes in taking care of your health without always reaching for the pharmacy shelf, if you believe that the people you love deserve comfort, dignity, and natural options that work gently with the body, then comment below with the words, "Wellness First." And make sure you subscribe to Elderly Care, because we're in this together and there's so much more to share. Ready? Let's dive in. So let's start with something almost every senior deals with at some point: digestive discomfort. That burning feeling after a meal, that tightness in the chest, the burping, the bloating. You know what I mean? It sneaks up after dinner and makes even a quiet evening feel uncomfortable. Now picture this. Grandpa George, who used to love his hearty meals, roast chicken, mashed potatoes, a slice of pie, is now finishing dinner and immediately patting his chest, reaching for yet another antacid. It's become routine. Dinner, discomfort, chewable tablet. But even after all those tablets, the relief is short-lived. The bloating returns. The burning comes back. And George? He's starting to lose his appetite. Not because he doesn't enjoy food, but because he's tired of the aftermath. Here's what most people don't realize. That discomfort, that acid reflux, is often the result of too much acid collecting in the stomach after meals. And that's where baking soda steps in. Baking soda, or sodium bicarbonate, is what scientists call a buffer. It neutralizes acid, so when it hits the stomach, it doesn't just coat the lining like some over-the-counter meds. It actually changes the pH balance, gently bringing the acid level down. That can mean quick, noticeable relief, and not the kind of relief that wears off in 10 minutes. I'm talking about real, soothing comfort that allows you or your loved one to actually enjoy food again. But here's where we need to pause. There's a big misconception, especially with seniors. When heartburn or indigestion strikes, the instinct is to reach for stronger meds, maybe prescription-level acid reducers. But what a lot of people don't know is that using those meds too often can come with real consequences. They can affect nutrient absorption. They can lead to rebound symptoms. And over time, they might even make digestion more sluggish. Baking soda water, on the other hand, is something the body already recognizes. It's not foreign. It's not artificial. And when used the right way, it can offer gentle, effective help without the long list of side effects. So what's the right way? It's simple. Just 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda stirred into a glass of water. Sip it slowly after meals, especially if you start to feel that tight, acidic pressure in your chest or stomach. And here's the key. This isn't something to drink every day. You're not treating it like a supplement. You're using it like a helper, just when it's needed. And that little shift from discomfort to ease can change the tone of an entire evening. Suddenly, meals become joyful again. You're not bracing for pain. You're not distracted. You're just present. And for a senior, that presence, that moment of peace, is everything. Let's keep going, because digestion is just the start. There's another health problem that baking soda water may gently help with, and it's one that hides beneath the surface. Now, let's talk about something a little quieter, but just as painful. Joint pain, inflammation, that deep, nagging ache that doesn't scream, but whispers all day long. Think about Margaret. She's 78, still sharp, still kind, still determined to do things for herself. But mornings have changed. She used to open jars, tie her shoes, button her sweater without thinking. Now, she wakes up and just lays there, staring at her hands, waiting. They're stiff, swollen, cold, and it takes forever for her fingers to start moving again. That's inflammation. And for many seniors, it doesn't just affect the hands. It lingers in the knees, the hips, the lower back. It makes simple things, walking to the mailbox, brushing hair, pouring tea, feel like lifting weights. Now here's something you might not expect. In 2018, researchers began looking into how baking soda affects the immune system, not just digestion, but inflammation itself. What they found was fascinating. In small doses, baking soda may actually help calm an overactive immune response. That means fewer inflammatory signals being sent through the body. Less swelling, less pain, not a cure, but maybe a shift. You see, inflammation isn't just a joint issue. It's a whole body response. And when it gets out of balance, when stays turn on too long, it starts to wear the body down. That's why some people feel like their bones hurt. It's not always the bones, it's what's around them. The joints, the soft tissue, the silent swelling you can't always see. Now, a common mistake we make, especially with older adults, is to assume that all arthritis or joint pain must be handled with medication. Painkillers, anti-inflammatories, injections. But here's the thing. Low-grade, chronic inflammation may respond to something much gentler. Something like proper hydration, light movement, and yes, baking soda water. It's not about replacing medical care. It's about adding something subtle to your routine that might help turn the volume down on the discomfort. And in the world of senior care, even a little relief can mean a lot. So how do you do it? Start slow. That same 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda in a full glass of water. Sip it once or twice a week, not every day, and listen to your body. Hydrate well, because inflammation dries the body out. And keep moving, even just a little, to help the joints loosen up. It's not magic, but sometimes it feels close. Because when Margaret finally gets her hands moving again, when she can hold a teacup without wincing, she feels like herself again. And that's what we're after here. Not just symptom relief, but dignity, ease, moments of independence that remind someone they're still in charge of their body, even in small ways. Now, let's shift to something even more subtle. You can't always feel it. You may not even know it's happening, but it affects energy, focus, and long-term health. When it shows up, it affects everything. I'm talking about the kidneys. Two small organs tucked beneath the rib cage, working every minute of every day to clean the blood, balance fluids, manage minerals, keep the entire system running in harmony. Let me tell you about Thomas. He's 82, a calm, steady kind of man. But lately, something's been off. He's more tired than usual, not just sleepy drained. Walking to the end of the driveway feels like a hike. He's sleeping more, eating less. Everyone around him thinks, well, he's just getting older. But Thomas knows something's not right. He finally gets checked out, and the tests show it. His kidneys are underperforming. Not failing, not in crisis, just slowing down. Now here's what's fascinating, and why we're talking about this today. In some cases, doctors actually recommend baking soda, sodium bicarbonate, as part of the treatment plan for early-stage chronic kidney disease. Why? Because as kidney function declines, acid builds up in the body. The kidneys can't filter it out as efficiently. And this excess acidity, it puts more strain on already struggling kidneys. But baking soda, in small amounts, acts like a buffer. It helps reduce that acid load. It gives the kidneys just a little bit of relief. Not a cure, not a reversal, but a gentle hand, a way to help slow things down by time, reduce damage. Here's where people often get it wrong, though. We tend to think kidney problems just show up out of nowhere. Suddenly, someone's on dialysis, and we wonder, how did it happen so fast? But most of the time, it didn't happen fast at all. The signs were just too quiet to notice. fatigue, swollen ankles, trouble concentrating, muscle cramps, and yes, just feeling off. If there's even a hint that kidney function might be declining, especially in a senior, this is something worth talking to the doctor about, because baking soda water isn't for everyone. Too much sodium can raise blood pressure or create other imbalances. But under the right guidance, it might be an option. A natural, non-invasive addition to the care plan. Think of it like this. You're not trying to fix the whole machine. You're just helping it run a little smoother, a little longer. And for someone like Thomas, that might mean more time feeling alert, comfortable, able to enjoy his days. Next up, let's talk about fatigue. Not the kind you feel after staying up too late or chasing grandkids around. I mean that deeper kind, the kind that seeps into your bones, sits in your chest, and just won't let go. This is what happened to Eleanor. She's always been active. Love her garden. Roses, tomatoes, little rows of herbs she'd tend to every morning. It was her rhythm, her therapy, her joy. But then something started to change. She'd walk outside, tools in hand, and 5, maybe 10 minutes in, she'd need to sit. Not because of pain, not because she was short of breath. She just couldn't push through the heaviness. That heaviness is what we're talking about here. That deep fatigue that doesn't match the effort. And for seniors, it can feel like part of aging, like something that just comes with the territory. But what if it's not just age? What if there's something else going on beneath the surface? See, the body runs on balance, especially pH balance. And when that balance is off, when the blood or cells become too acidic, it affects everything. Even energy. Here's the science behind it. When your body's pH leans too far toward the acidic side, your cells have a harder time doing what they're meant to do, especially when it comes to turning food into usable energy. The mitochondria, the little power plants inside your cells, don't work as efficiently. And the result? You're eating, sleeping, and moving, but you still feel like you're running on empty. This is where baking soda might offer a little support. Because it's alkaline, it helps nudge that pH balance back into a healthier zone. It's not a stimulant. It's not giving you a quick buzz, but it might help your body use energy more cleanly, especially after meals or light activity. And that brings us to a big misconception. People assume this kind of fatigue is just part of getting older. They say, well, that's just how it goes. But that mindset robs people of options. Because sometimes it's not aging, it's imbalance. An imbalance is something we can address. Now, a simple piece of advice. Hydration. Make sure water is part of the daily routine. And then, when appropriate, perhaps after a walk or after a meal, add a tiny bit of baking soda. Again, just a quarter teaspoon in a full glass of water. Not every day, not as a crutch, just when the body feels a bit stuck, like the engine won't turn over. It's not a cure for fatigue, but it might be a nudge. A way to help someone like Eleanor get back to the garden and feel the sun on her face without needing to sit after 10 minutes. Now let's shift gears because we're about to talk about something even more personal. Something many folks keep quiet about, even though it affects their comfort every single day. Let's talk about bladder discomfort. Something no one wants to talk about, but many silently deal with. Many older adults experience this, but very few are comfortable bringing up. Urinary discomfort. That constant urge, the nighttime interruptions, the quiet distress that creeps in and makes everyday life feel just a little less manageable. Take Lillian, for example. She never mentioned it at first. She'd laugh at dinner, chat on the porch, go about her day like nothing was wrong. But slowly the signs crept in. She stopped going out as much. She'd excuse herself during conversations. And at night, sleep became impossible. She was up to 3, sometimes 4 times just to use the bathroom. It wasn't pain exactly, but it was discomfort, a burning sensation, a nagging urge, that always-on-edge feeling. And worst of all, the embarrassment. Lillian didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to be seen as frail, didn't want to feel like a burden. This is so common and so hard to talk about. And often, the first assumption, it must be an infection. Better get antibiotics. Now, yes, sometimes that's necessary. But here's what many people don't realize. Not all urinary discomfort is due to infection. In fact, many mild cases are linked to something much simpler, something as basic as the acidity in the urine. When urine becomes too acidic, it can irritate the bladder lining. It can create that urgency, that sting, that feeling like something's wrong, even when there's no actual infection. And that's where baking soda comes in. Because it's alkaline, baking soda can help neutralize the acid in urine. It may take the edge off the discomfort, soften the urgency, make the bladder feel less inflamed. It's a subtle shift. But for someone like Lillian, even a little relief means more rest, more confidence, more peace of mind. Now let's be clear. This isn't something to start doing every day. And it's not something to try without talking to a doctor, especially if there's any chance of infection or if someone is already on medications. But for those mild, recurring discomforts that don't seem to have a clear cause, 1 glass of water with a small pinch of baking soda, early in the day, not at night, might offer gentle support. The goal isn't to replace medical care. It's to give the body a break, to soften the harshness, to support the system in a way that's safe, natural, and time-tested. And for seniors, that can make a real difference. More restful sleep, fewer disruptions, a greater sense of control. Now we've talked about digestion, joints, kidneys, fatigue, and urinary comfort. But there's one more area we need to touch on. And this one affects both the body and the mind. It's subtle, it's serious, and it's something millions of seniors deal with every day, often without even knowing it. Something that truly sits at the crossroads of physical health and peace of mind. Blood pressure, that quiet number on the cuff that tells a much bigger story about stress, circulation, heart strain, and long-term risk. I want to tell you about Harold, 80 years old, kind eyes, the type of man who's seen a lot, doesn't complain much, and still likes to start his day with a little spark. But one morning, after trying an energy drink, something new, something a friend had suggested, his heart started racing. His hands shook. He felt dizzy. They checked his blood pressure, and it had spiked. His doctor later told him the combination of that drink and a few over-the-counter supplements had pushed his system too far. Now, why am I telling you this during a video about baking soda water? Because sodium plays a major role in blood pressure. And yes, baking soda contains sodium. That same sodium that, when overdone, can tighten the blood vessels and push pressure levels higher. So while we've talked about all the possible benefits baking soda water can offer, this is where we have to slow down and be careful. See, baking soda's ability to balance pH is real. It can help the body feel better in small, specific ways. But for someone who's already sensitive to salt, or someone managing hypertension, that same baking soda could do more harm than good. There's a common misconception that if something is natural, it must be completely safe. But sodium is sodium, no matter how it's packaged. And the older we get, the more that matters. So what's the advice here? Simple. If you or someone you love has concerns about blood pressure, don't guess. Don't experiment quietly. Monitor those numbers regularly. Talk to a healthcare provider before trying baking soda water, even just once. Because for some people, a small, infrequent dose might offer real help. But for others, especially those on blood pressure medication or with a history of heart strain, it might raise the risk instead. This isn't about fear, it's about respect. Respecting the body, respecting what's already working to keep it balanced, and respecting the power of something as small as a teaspoon. Clearly, baking soda water isn't a miracle cure. It's not meant to replace your doctor, your medication, or your daily routine. But used wisely, with knowledge, with care, and with attention, it can be a gentle ally, a quiet support, a small shift that adds up, over time, to better days, calmer nights, and a little more ease in this journey of aging with grace. And there's still more to say, because this journey isn't just about science. It's about heart. And that's where we're headed next. We all want to protect our elders. We want them to feel safe, to feel seen, to feel cared for. But let's be honest, it can feel overwhelming because their bodies are changing in ways we don't always understand. One day they're walking fine, next day they're slower. One week they're smiling, cooking, laughing. Then suddenly they're quieter, more tired. And we wonder, is this normal? Should I be worried? Am I doing enough? You're not alone in feeling that. That confusion, that pressure, it's part of caregiving. And it's okay to admit that sometimes it feels like too much. But here's what I want you to remember. This video isn't about miracle fixes. It's not about replacing medicine or skipping the doctor or chasing some magic bullet. It's about reclaiming something small, something simple, a quiet tool that gives you just a little more power to care. Smarter, not harder. Because when you understand what's happening inside the body, when you learn that things like pH, inflammation, digestion, and fatigue are connected, then you can make more informed choices. You can support your loved one's health in a way that's gentle, intuitive, and wise. So here's what I hope you take from all this. Start with a conversation. Talk to your doctor, yours, or your parents, or your partners. Ask about hydration. Ask about sodium. Ask whether a pinch of baking soda might have a place in their routine. Not as a cure, but as a helper. Try a small change. Maybe it's adding a little more water in the morning. Maybe it's trying the baking soda mix once on a day when indigestion flares up. Maybe it's just knowing that you have one more tool in your pocket when things feel uncertain. Because sometimes it's not the big moves that change everything. It's the little ones, the quiet decisions we make in the kitchen. The moments we say, let's try this, instead of let's wait and see. And the truth is, those simple choices like what we put in a glass of water, they can have a ripple effect. They can bring comfort. They can restore just enough balance to help someone feel good again. Not perfect, not young, but good, whole, respected. That's what this is all about. Helping the people we love feel strong and safe and seen every single day. And now that you know a little more, maybe today is a good day to try. So let's take a moment and look back at everything we've uncovered together. Baking soda water, it's not flashy, it's not trendy, but sometimes the oldest remedies carry the quietest strength. When used carefully and in the right hands, this simple little drink may help ease digestion, soothe inflammation in tired joints, support kidneys that are doing their best to keep up, lift the weight of fatigue that makes the day feel longer than it should, calm that subtle bladder irritation that no one wants to mention, and in some cases, when used with true care, it might even help balance blood pressure. But only if it's used with respect, with attention, with an understanding that the body isn't something to fix, it's something to support. So I want to hear from you. Which of these issues have you experienced personally or seen in someone you care for? Have you ever tried baking soda water? Did it help? Did it surprise you? Let me know in the comments. You never know who your story might help. And if this video gave you even one new idea, one new thing to consider, please take a moment to subscribe to Elderly Care. This channel exists for you, for your family, for your parents, for your grandparents, for anyone who wants to approach aging not with fear, but with knowledge, with curiosity, with hope. We've got more to share. And if you're here, that means you care deeply. And that's what this space is all about. Thank you for watching. Stay kind to your body. Stay kind to the people around you. And I'll see you in the next video.